Yeah, it's another very interesting time. Tunakutana tena na tunaendelea na suggested solution, jinsi ambavyo tunaweza tukaona namna ya kujibu maswali mbalimbali ya paper 1 kwenye mtihani mwaka 2021. This is advanced biology na tunaingia kwenye swali la 3, ambalo swali la 3 liko nasema give 4 points to support each of the following fact. The natural system of classification has never been achieved in the fullest sense, kwamba ni kwa nini natural system of classification hatujawahi kuipata in the fullest sense, lakini pia scientists prefer to use natural than artificial system of classification. Give 4 points. Tukisema natural system of classification has never been achieved in its fullest sense, maana yake ni kuelezea challenge of natural system of classification, and actually these are the challenges for the classification of organism. What challenges are we facing when we are classifying organism? Na hizi ni advantage of natural system of classification of artificial. I hope advantages are natural system of classification of artificial is only they are simple to state, and even the challenges of classification systems, hizo challenges zipo ambazo in different areas tunavyokuwa najaribu ku classify challenges of classification. When we are trying to classify living organism, we are facing these challenges. Kwa wale ambao mnaweza mkawa mlisoma classification kwangu au in one way or another, unaweza kuwa unaona easy problems with classification, and actually if you are looking at these problems, unaona kabisa zinadili na natural. Kwa sababu gani? Artificial system of classification it's actually not classification. Kwa mfano, classification is time consuming and tiresome work. Au hapo ukasema kwamba natural classification is time consuming and tiresome work. Unaona ni kweli. That's the problem, because it will consume a lot of time to get a full detail of a living organism. Thus, hiyo itapelekea tusiweze kumclassify organism fully katika natural classification. A very expensive, since it requires research to find different organisms and their characteristics. That's the natural classification also. It requires a skilled person. That's the natural classification. Some organisms may show characteristics which lie between two distinct group. Unaona, that's the natural classification, the one which tend to try to find different characteristics. Unaona, evolutionary information of an organism may be missing. Unaona, these are the challenges of a natural system of classification. And for example, when the evolutionary information of an organism, they may be missing. If they are missing, that means we cannot classify the organism fully in the natural system of our classification. But the merits, yani kifupi hilo swali ni kama walikuchanganya tu, ni kama walikuuliza merits and demerits of nini, of natural system of classification. Kwa sababu tukisema natural system of classification cannot be attained fully, hatuwezi kuipata fully, ni kwa sababu kuna challenge mbalimbali, kuna demerits mbalimbali, kuna mapungufu mbalimbali yanayofanya tusiweze kuifikia natural system of classification fully. Now, merits of natural classification is more accurate, enables identification, shows of evolution relationship, it's more accurate, it involves many characteristics, it places organisms in the accurate group regardless of the observed features, prevent unrelated organisms from big group together. This is somehow similar to this. Allows organisms which are genetically related to be grouped in the same taxon. It's universal. Kwa hiyo hilo swali kiufupi ndio kama walikuwa wanataka advantage and disadvantage swali la 3. Hapo ulikuwa ukiwa utume nani vizuri kwenye principal classification systems, hilo swali unalipata vizuri. Number 4, eukaryotic cell possess many organelles with special structures suitable for performing specific functions. How does each of the following structures enable the respective organelle to perform its role? Tonoplast in the vacuole. How does each of the following structure enable the respective organelle to perform its role? Tonoplast in the vacuole iruhusu vipi iweze kufanya kazi? Kwanza tonoplast ni membrane inayozunguka vacuole. Tonoplast membrane inayozunguka vacuole, kazi yake kubwa nini? It acts as the membrane kama ilivyo cell membrane. Kazi yake ni prevent yani tuseme ni maintain au kubalance au kufanya material, ile wanaita ni regulate the entry and the exit of material from the vacuole. Sasa what is the adaptation, or how does each of the following structure enable the respective organ to perform its role? Kifupi hapo ni kama umekuuliza function, kwa sababu how does each of the following structure enable the respective organ to perform its role. Tonoplast hii ni vacuole, yani tonoplast enable vipi vacuole kufanya kazi yake. It's like umeulizwa how does each of the following structure enable the respective organ to perform its role. Ni kama umeulizwa what is the function of tonoplast in a vacuole. Unaona, actually haujaulizwa adaptation. Unaona, haujaulizwa adaptation hapo, kwa sababu how does the following structure enable the respective organ to perform its role. Haujaambiwa what are the structure, what is the adaptation. Haujaulizwa adaptation hapa, umeulizwa structure. Hiyo structure na kazi gani? Tonoplast inasaidia katika ku maintain the entry and the exit of material because it is the selectively permeable membrane as how the cell membrane it is. Glycocalyx in plasma membrane. Actually ukienda kusoma tai au utaikuta glycocalyx wameelezea katika cell membrane, lakini hata katika vitabu vyetu glycocalyx au utaikuta imeelezewa katika cell membrane. It's true that it's the part of cell membrane, but since it is not explained by our common books, inakuwa not fair kuuliza kitu ambacho hakiko common kwenye mazingira yetu. So ni swali zuri kwa sababu pia Nectar na wao muda mwingine wanauliza kitu ambacho wao wanajisikia. Ni swali zuri. So kiufupi, glycocalyx ni kitu gani? Hata mwenyewe nimegoogle hapa glycocalyx ni kitu gani, na swali kama hili kiukweli kwenye mtihani likitoka, don't expect to perform it. Glycocalyx is the highly charged layer of membrane bound biological macromolecules attached to cell membrane. Glycocalyx, highly charged layer of membrane bound biological macromolecules. This layer functions the barrier between a cell and its surrounding. Nilikwambia hayo maswali ni kama umeuliza function. Kwa hapo ni kama umekuuliza function ya glycocalyx ni nini. Function of glycocalyx. A glycocalyx function include kwanza limiting the access of certain molecules to extracellular membrane. Pili, dissipating fluid shear stress at the distance from the membrane. Number 3, potentially transmitting the mechanical force into the cell via the GAG and the core protein complex. Is on the function of glycocalyx. Cell to cell recognition, adhesion, membrane bending, tabulation, modifying the plasma membrane. Actually ukija kuangalia utakuja kuona kwamba glycocalyx ni muunganiko wale molecule kama carbohydrate, kwa sababu cell to cell recognition hiyo ni kazi ya carbohydrate. Carbohydrate ambazo zinakuwa attached to the lipids. Unaona, yani tunaziita kama ni glycolipids. Unaona, kwa hiyo glycocalyx ni complex ya molecule, ni charged layer of biological molecule ambazo zina perform function mbalimbali katika cell. Hiyo ndo kazi zake hapo katika plasma membrane. Lakini tukitoka hapo, DNA in the nucleus. What is the function of DNA? The major function of DNA is to control all activities of the cell. And how does the DNA controls all activities of the cell? DNA produces RNA molecule which goes to produce protein, and this protein hiyo tunaita central dogma. DNA inaenda kupeleka RNA inaenda kutengeneza protein. This protein, they perform different functions in the nucleus, or this protein they regulate different function in the nucleus and finally in the whole body. Crystal in mitochondria, they increase surface area for the electron transport chain reaction to occur. Describe the lock and the key model of enzyme action. Hilo nadhani sio swali gumu hilo. Lock and the key model ya enzyme action hiyo inaeleweka. State digestive rules that will be impaired if the pancreas is severely damaged. Give 4 points. 4 points digestive rule that will be impaired. That means here you need to know, or you need to remember the function of digestive rules of the pancreas. Digestive rules ya pancreas katika digestive rule, kazi kubwa inayofanya ni kusecrete nini? Pancreatic juice. Unaona? So you can start by stating introduction kwamba the major function of our pancreas in digestion is to secrete pancreatic juice, which contain different enzymes. Some of these enzymes, they are digestive enzyme. Some of these enzymes, they are activators. Kwa hiyo the digestive rule which will be impaired, unaona, digestive rules which will be impaired, unaona, ni zile functions za zile enzyme. Kwa mfano unapokuja kutaja labda enzyme kama enterokinase labda na kazi gani? Let's open nutrition notes hapa na tuone mfano wa kile ambacho nakielezea. Ngoja tu open nutrition notes hapa. Advanced biology 1. Tuone mfano wa kile ambacho nakielezea sasa. Pancreas. Stomach, HCl. Okay, small intestine. Digestion is small intestine. Tukitoka hapo naenda kwenye bile. Importance of bile in digestion na pancreas hapo. Unaona? Pancreas is a large gland located next to the stomach. It's unusual in that it produces both exocrine. Within the pancreas, a group of cells which produce a variety of digestive enzymes that are poured into the duodenum via the pancreatic duct. The pancreatic juice, in addition to water, it contains mineral salts. Unaona, this help to neutralize the acidic chime from the stomach and so create a more neutral pH for the enzyme of small intestine to work. That means unaanza kusema what is the function which will be impaired hapo? Manake the acidic chime from the stomach will not be neutralized since the mineral salts from the pancreas will not be present. And what will happen after that? That means the enzymes of small intestine cannot function. Tayari ni malabsorption. Malabsorption is syndrome. Tukisema malabsorption, it's not malabsorption, actually it's maldigestion. Malabsorption ni kushindwa kuabsorb any product of digestion. Malabsorption hiyo ni disorder, lakini maldigestion maana yake itakuwa ni kushindwa kudigest. Lakini pia protease, the pancreatic juice contain protease, which contain trypsinogen, chymotrypsin, unaona, na exopeptidase ambayo ni carboxyl peptidase, unaona. Manake the protein digestion will be impaired because of the lack of the enzyme trypsinogen and then chymotrypsinogen. Trypsinogen inact kama enzyme but also inact kama enzyme at the same time inact kama activator wa enzyme mwingine, unaona. Pancreatic amylase ambaye pancreatic amylase ambaye anafanya kazi ya kucomplete the release of starch to maltose, unaona. Kwa hiyo manake the completion of the release of starch to maltose haitatokea. What will happen? Unajua chakula kinakaa muda mfupi sana mdomoni. Kwa hiyo we expect only very small portion of starch eaten can be digested in the mouth. The remaining portion is digested in the small intestine. If there is no pancreatic amylase, what do we expect? That large portion of starch will not be digested and it will lose a lot of energy with the feces. The lipase ambayo inafanya kazi ya hydrolysis of fatty acids. So these are the function which will be which will be impaired if the pancreas itakuwa imedamage. Brief describe what would happen to the duodenal enzymes if the pH in the duodenum remain at 2. I remember this is the BS question if I'm not mistaken. What will happen to the enzymes of the duodenum if the pH at the duodenum remain at 2? Enzymes singeweza kufanya kazi kabisa. Nakumbuka hilo swali liko kwenye BS kama sikosei. Ila wejua tu enzymes za duodenum singeweza kufanya kazi kama pH ingebakia at 2 kwa sababu duodenum inafanya kazi kwenye pH ya 7 hadi 8. Unaona bwana? Duodenum inafanya kazi pH ya 7 hadi 8. Hilo ni swali la BS kama sijakosea. And if you pass through a biological science book, you can actually the enzymes of the duodenum zisingeweza kufanya kazi. Hii hapa. What would happen to the activity of the, ni swali 8.5 kwenye BS. What would happen to the activity of the intestinal enzyme if the pH of the intestine remained at 2? Unaona? Ni swali la BS lakini kiukweli ni enzymes za duodenum zisingefanya kazi. Ndio maana nakwambia always kwenye hizi paper za NECTA lazima swali la BS iliwepo. Number 6A, why most of the reactions of the cell take place in the cytoplasm? Kiukweli hilo pia ni moja kati ya swali ambalo haliko kwenye vita vyetu vya kawaida, but you can use your knowledge kuweza kujibu swali kama hilo. Unaweza kutumia knowledge yako, you can use your knowledge kujibu swali kama hilo na ukapata vizuri tu. Now let I write like suggested answers here ambazo I think they are correct. Na ni kweli they are correct, not only because I think they are correct. So ngoja niandike majibu hapa. Let I increase the font size. First zoom like this way. Okay. Niandike point hapa baadhi ambazo nadhani zinaweza kutusaidia kuelewa. Kwanza, why most of the reaction they take place in the cytoplasm? Cytoplasm contains water, which is the medium for many reactions, or many metabolic reactions, occurring in the cell. Hapa tunaweza kusema in other words, kwa maneno mengine, in other words tunaweza kusema kwamba kwa maneno mengine hapo, au kwa lugha nyingine tunaweza kusema kwamba many reactions occurs in the aqueous medium, like that in the cytoplasm. Hiyo ni point ya kwanza. Point ya pili, cytoplasm contain enzymes which catalyzes different reactions. Kwa mfano tunavyozungumzia labda glucose 6 phosphate reactions of, kwa mfano glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm because the enzymes catalyzing the reactions of glycolysis are contained in cytoplasm. Unaona, hiyo ni point ya pili. Point ya tatu, kwa nini most of the reaction they take place in the cytoplasm? Naweza kusema kwamba cytoplasm contain different ions which can act as enzyme cofactors or activators. Hopefully you know about the concepts of enzyme cofactors and activators. Contain different ions which can act the enzyme cofactors or enzyme activators of the enzymes catalyzing different reactions. Unaona, but also cytoplasm contain many tunaweza kusema like many molecules which can be used as the raw material. Unajua reaction yoyote hizi katokea kama hakuna raw material reaction, which can be used as the raw material of a different metabolic process in the cell. Kwa mfano, glycolysis occurs in cytoplasm since there is a high amount of glucose in the cytoplasm. Unaona, lakini kitu kingine ni kwamba it's easy to take the raw materials from outside of the cell and also to remove the produced waste products of metabolic reactions. What does it mean? Metabolic reactions. What does it mean? If the reactions could occur in the organelles, it is difficult to take the raw materials from outside of the cell, since there could be many membranes to pass through until reaching the organelle. Yani kwamba kama reactions zilikuwa zinatokea kwenye organelle, maana yake ambacho ingetokea ni kwamba tunatakiwa tukitoka kwenye tumechukua labda glucose toka nje ya seli, tutaingiza kwenye cytoplasm, afu tutaingiza tena kwenye mitochondria. Wakati kwa hapa kinachofanyika, glucose kutoka nje ya seli inaingia kwenye cytoplasm, inafanya reaction very easy, and it's easier to remove the waste product. However, it's also important for the reaction to take place in the organelle for the different advantages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zitajika pointi ngapi huko? Acha turudi kwanza kwenye swali letu hapa. Huku zilihitajika pointi, give 4 points. Tumeshaweka 5. Why cytoplasm is important part of the cell, give 6 points. Kwa nini cytoplasm ni important part ya cell, give 6 points. Hizo ziko kwenye notes, hazihitaji maelezo mengi. Kama notes zangu nazo, you'll be having that advantage kwenye notes hizo. Advantages of cytoplasm 6. Cytoplasm hii hapa, cytoplasm maelezo yake hayo hapo, advantage 6 hizo hapo cytoplasm. Kwa hiyo hopefully hapo umenielewa tu, umenielewa. Baada ya hapo using well labeled diagram describe the conduction of nerve impulse along an myelinated axon. Hiyo nayo iko kwenye understanding, iko kwenye notes. Conduction of nerve impulse along an myelinated axon sio swala la kuuliza, hilo ni swala ambalo ni most common, limeshazoeleka sana, na moja kati ya swala ambalo hata ukitolewa nekta yako tukiwa tunaanza kushangilia pale, haleluya, hosana. Coordination. Unaanza tu kushangilia kwa sababu moja kati ya maswali very common, conduction of nerve impulse. Hili hapa swali na picha zake hizo hapo. Kwa swali na picha zake hizo hapo. Nikutakia wakati mwema. Kipindi kimekuwa kirefu kidogo kwa sababu ya discussion nyingi. Kwa wakati mwema, tukutane kipindi kijacho. Tunamalizia section B. Adaptation of mammalian fetus, mountain dwellers, and divers to oxygen uptake. Level of hormone in blood during the course of menstrual cycle. Study the figure and answer the question that follow. Menstrual cycle. Okay. How does xylem adapt to water transport? Haya. Taona kipindi kijacho.